Hey class, Mrs. Anderson here. I hope you are doing well. I miss all of you. It's a beautiful day today, like 60 and sunny. Hopefully you can get outside. I am going to do the video for week 5 here. I'm going to show you how to use the formula we use to calculate slope. So we've been looking at slope as, you might remember, looking at slope as the vertical change over the horizontal change. Another way we represent that is by saying rise over run. So rise is like how far we go up or down, over run, how far we go left or right. And we get the formula then kind of from that as well, because if you think about the graph, this is the x-axis and this is the y-axis. So the formula is the change in the y value, so the change in the y, the rise, over the change in the x, the run. So it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'll show you how that works. What x1 and x2 and y1 and y2 means, basically it's the first point and the second point. So using this formula, -8, 4, that's going to be your first point. So that is your x1 and your y1. And then the other two numbers, -10, 5, that's your second point. So that is x2 and y2. So the little numbers just mean first point, second point. Then you take, to find your slope, you do y2 minus y1 on top. So in this case, it would be 5 minus 4 over. Then you do x2 minus x1 on bottom. Second point minus the first x point. So -10 minus -8. And then you simplify. 5 minus 4 is 1. -10 minus -8, that's like -10 plus 8. -10 plus 8 is -2. So this is a slope of -1/2. 1 divided by -2. All right, so let's try that a couple more times here just so we get some good practice with finding slope using the formula. So first identify this is your first point. So we got x1, y1, because all ordered pairs are xy. And my second point is x2, y2, my second point. Then the formula is y2 minus y1, so you find the change in the y's, that's the rise, over the change in the run, that's the x's, x2 minus x1. So it'll be y2 minus y1, -2 minus 7, over x2 minus x1, 3x2 minus x1, 3 minus 3. So -2 minus 7 is the same thing as -2 plus -7. So that's -9. 3 minus 3 is 0. Uh-oh, we can't divide by 0, remember. So -9 divided by 0, this slope is undefined, which means that this is a vertical line. If you think about graphing those points, 3, 7 is up here, and 3, -2, that's a vertical line, and vertical lines have slopes that are undefined. All right, find the slope using the formula for these 2 points. So 0, 5 is our first point, so that's our x1 and our y1. And then 4, 13 is our second point, so that's our x2 and our y2. And the formula for slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So start with the y coordinates, 13 minus 5 on top, and then over 4 minus 0 on bottom. 13 minus 5 is 8, 4 minus 0 is 4, I can reduce that. 8 divided by 4 is 2 over 1, or just 2. Slope of 2. All right, we're going to do one more. x1, y1 for the first point, x2, y2 for the second point. y2 minus y1, 6 minus 6 over x2 minus x1, 4 minus negative 1. 6 minus 6 is not 6. 6 minus 6 is 0. 4 minus negative 1 is the same thing as 4 plus 1, which is 5. Now, it is okay to have 0 on the top. 0 divided by any number is just equal to 0. So this one has a slope of 0. So this means that this must be a horizontal line. If you think about the point negative 1, 6, and the point 4, 6, this is a horizontal line. Slope of 0 is like the floor, it's flat. Okay, the table of values has been completed for each equation. Calculate the slope of the line from the table, and we can do this two ways. Let's see, how many do I have here? So what I like to do is find the change in y. So what are we doing here? This is going to be your vertical change. And this is your horizontal change. So from negative 6 to 5, you're adding 1. Negative 5 to 4, you're adding 1. Adding 1, adding 1. Negative 2 to negative 1, that's plus 1 as well. It's not always the same. And then remember that slope is vertical change over horizontal change. So positive 1 over 1, or slope of 1. Okay, so that's one way to calculate slope using the table. Find the vertical change, find the horizontal change. The other way is to use the formula. You can choose any 2 points to use. Let's say this is my y1 and this is my y2. This is my x1 and this is my x2. Then you can use the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that would be 5 minus 8 over negative 1 minus negative 2. So 5 minus 8 is 5 plus negative 8 is negative 3. Negative 1 plus 2 is positive 1. So this should be a slope of negative 3 over 1, or a slope of negative 3. You might notice the pattern in the table too. As you go from 8 to 5, that's minus 3. 5 to 2 is minus 3. 2 to negative 1 is minus 3, minus 3. Then over here, negative 2 to 1 is plus 1. Negative 1 to 0, you're adding 1. 0 to 1, adding 1. 1 to 2, adding 1. And then vertical change over horizontal change is negative 3 over 1. So that is another way to calculate the slope using that vertical over horizontal change. All right, let's practice one more time with the formula. So you can pick any points. You could do these two down here. We can let this one be y1 and this one be y2. Then x1 and x2. That way you avoid using the negative numbers, and that might be easier. So then my slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that's 4 minus 2 over 6 minus 3. So 4 minus 2 is 2, 6 minus 3 is 3. I have a slope of 2/3 for that one. You might see 4 plus 2 is negative 2. Negative 2 plus 2. 2 plus 2. And then over here, it's a change of positive 3. And then it's y over x to find the slope in the table. What patterns do I recognize? So I'm going to zoom out for a second. I'm going to look at just these two maybe. And what do I notice about the slope of negative 3 and the original equation? Notice that it's negative 3x and 2/3 x. Let's look back up here. We had a slope of 1, and look, we have a 1x. So what I want you to recognize here is that it's y equals mx. So the number in front the x is the slope of the line. On your homework, I still want to see your work for how you're calculating slope, but I want you to recognize that pattern because we're going to start writing equations of lines soon too. Okay, these are special cases. Last couple examples here. Y equals negative 5. Remember? And x equals negative 2. These are the two special ones. The first one doesn't have an x in the equation, and the second one doesn't have a y in the equation. So let's look at what that looks like. The first one, in A, you'll see you have no change here. Negative 5 to 5 is like plus 0. Plus 0. You're not changing this at all. And then over here, it looks like we're going up by 1 on each one. So the vertical change, the y, change in y over change in x is 0 over 1. So your slope for this is 0 divided by 1 is 0. So y equals is a horizontal line. It's one of the special ones. Let's look at the x equals then. So on the y side, it looks like we're going up by 1. On this side, we aren't changing at all, so it's plus 0. So it's very similar to the other one we saw, except for this time it's 1 over 0 as our slope, and we can't divide by 0. So this time the slope is undefined. This is a special case. This is a vertical line. And that's what those tables look like when you see those cases. X is always negative 2 or y is always negative 5. All right, that's all I have for you. Good luck on your homework. Let me know if you have some questions. Thanks, guys.